Shinsuke Nakamura did an interview with Tokyo Sports where he spoke openly about retirement. And during it, he said that he wants to retire in the next few years, probably within the next 5 years. But first, he needs to do one thing, and that one thing is to win a world championship. And I'm going to be completely honest with everybody. I think if this is his aim, he's not going to retire ever. I think this man is going to be 90 years old in a retirement home and not retired. He's going to be the only person living in a retirement home who's still actually employed. Because as much as I want Nakamura to win a world title, Shad, I can't see it happening. But what is your thoughts?
Yeah, man, obviously, I feel like it's just the competitor aspect in it, right? You want to come out on top. You want to, like, see the promised land at all aspects as a professional wrestler. And Shinsuke is somebody that, man, like, world renowned. You know, we've seen him, you know, go toe to toe with the best on Wrestle Kingdoms. We've seen him go toe to toe with the best on WrestleManias, and he's won Royal Rumbles. Like, he's done so much in a career, but I feel like we are so far removed from the guy that was just absolutely killing it, signed as a big time, you know, legend, going into NXT and being the big time star coming up to the main roster. It feels like we're so far removed from that. And I don't understand where, I wouldn't say we went wrong. I don't want to say anything went wrong for him, but it feels like we were that disconnect has been something that, you know, a lot of people are just, it's there in the avenue, but it feels like the booking hasn't really been there for him. And to be a world champion, if you were to tell me today, no, I don't think it's happening. I don't see an avenue for that happening, just because you look at the main event picture and the stars that are aligned to there. You know, you got the Cody, you got Seth, you got Roman. And yes, there is an avenue with injuries and guys potentially going towards the end of their career. But something that you've brought up in particular, it's the next crop of guys that they want to build up as stars, right? The Braun Breakers that you've mentioned. You know, Obafemi, whenever he gets an opportunity to get onto the main roster. You know, even people that are like doing big time stuff on the mid-card division that eventually will move them way up to the main event. I don't know where he kind of aligns or where he lands on there. To me, he's a great hand, someone that can give you a lot of potential feuds, or he could be a very great mid-card guy. But I don't, like, it hurts to say, I kind of don't want him to end his career in WWE. I would love him to end his career in New Japan, you know, having bouts with some of the guys over there, the young guys that are coming up, and then going against familiar foes. You know, Shinsuke versus Takeshita potentially. That's something that could be absolutely insane. And to me, I feel like Shinsuke's kind of done all he can do in WWE. And I like, as a wrestling fan, and I think you're like, your face just lit up like crazy. Yeah.
I want to see it. A New Japan retirement tour for Shinsuke Nakamura. I will have a slice of that. I think it would be good for New Japan as well.
Yes, he is more of a big time star returning to New Japan than he is remaining in the WWE. That's just the honest truth of it. And I think, you know, a lot of people said, like, I want AJ to do that. I can understand it. I think AJ still, to people, is a main event guy in the WWE, and he could potentially get back into the main event picture. Shinsuke, man, that superstar needs to, like, end his career off of a superstar. And I don't think WWE is his home per se. I think it's a great avenue, a route he took in his, like, fantastic career. But to go back, you know, home over there and finish it out there, yeah, I would retire there if I was him.
You mentioned you don't know where it went wrong for him in WWE. Well, I'm going to give you a hot take, Shad, because it hurts me to say this. It pains me to say this. The reason it went wrong was AJ Styles. Because, look, the second that he won the Royal Rumble, the second that they decided to do that match at WrestleMania, I was like, oh, yes, I'm so excited. And then a couple of minutes passed, and I was like, hang on a second. Their matches, which they worked in New Japan, I loved. But I don't think they would work in front of a stadium crowd in the US. In an arena, a little bit better, but in a stadium on a WrestleMania show where there was so many matches back then, they didn't get much time often as well. it was never going to work, and it was a complete disaster. The crowd were dead silent. A lot of things went against him, and then they did the worst thing possible and turned him heel. And heel Nakamura has been the biggest flop of them all. He needed to stay a face, and that was what killed the momentum. So what should have been the biggest moment of his career, winning the Royal Rumble, was actually the point of decline, and that really hurts to say. But Mary, I want to get your thoughts on this one.
Well, you took practically every word out of my big old head. I 100% agree. Turning him heel at WrestleMania 34, if I'm correct,
Yeah.
that was where it all went. That's where it all went crashing down. I don't know why they turned him heel. I don't know where they thought they were going with it. If, like how you said, if they had a little bit more time with that gigantic match card that they had, I think the crowd could have been just a tad bit more interested. But it was just a very, very messy WrestleMania overall. And I just think they just didn't know where to fit him. And they just thought, well, I'll just turn him heel. We all know what happened after that. So it worked, but then it didn't work. And I think that's where I would definitely agree with the both of you. I just don't think he's going to be anywhere near the main event scene, especially with this set of wonderful stars that we have. The Seths, the Brauns, the Bronsons, the Johns, the Romans, the bloodline, where along the lines could he fit? I just don't think he can. Like how Shad brought up New Japan, I think that's brilliant. I think that would be brilliant to end his career kind of where he started. That would be the saving grace.
I absolutely agree with both of you on that one. That would be great. But there is potentially another option, another avenue. And I'm going to quickly throw this idea out. You guys might hate it, but there was one place in WWE which did feel like home to him, and that was NXT. We're often talking about, Shad, you're often talking about how the men's division in NXT, the upper mid-card to main event division there, is really weak right now. I mean, look, would it be the worst thing for him to go back down there and have another run, maybe even another NXT title run? Mary, I can see you shaking your head.
It's like, again, he's already at the brim peak of his career. If he's not just a genuine babyface to help elevate some of those stars that have been performing there, developing there with the performance center, training and all of that, I feel like putting him kind of back down in NXT would almost kind of feel like an insult. That
you wouldn't be wrong, but
especially
at least
for someone of his stature. If he's not just there being a mentor, a manager, it just wouldn't make sense.
I don't know if he necessarily fits this current iteration of NXT. Also,
I don't think he does.
Yeah, like to me, when he was in NXT, it was a lot more of, I don't know, like it felt more like kind of tied to the people that he got brought up with, right? Where now it's a lot of people that are kind of homegrown. I mean, you got a mix of people. Like there's some matches and feuds I wouldn't mind. I mean, obviously the one that's glaring would be him and Oba. I feel like that's one that could definitely be big for Oba. Come on, Mary. You know that would be dope.
I think him and Ethan Page would be a fun feud as well. I think as a feud, that would be enjoyable. Even though I'm not the biggest Ethan Page guy, I think as a feud, that would be fun.
Why aren't y'all big Ethan Page guys? I'm
not a big Ethan Page guy. I've been actually an Ethan Page hater.
What's wrong with him though?
I want to be careful with what I say here, because I don't want to disrespect him too much.
I know Clark. It's part of Clark's bit, but
yeah, Clark dislikes him more than I do.
No, Clark behind the closed doors, Clark likes him.
I agree.
I don't know. But look, I'll say this about Ethan Page, right? I think he is a fantastic, fantastic hand. And that is a really important role in wrestling. That is not an insult when it is used. My issue is when people are acting like this guy needs to be a future main event star in WWE. And a lot of people are acting like that. That's my issue, because he's a good mid-card guy. He can play his role really, really well. But he's not like a super young guy. He's in his mid-30s. So I think he's a good hand and could be a good hand on the main roster too. Well, yeah, but the fact is right now, no, look, I joke about this, but
I'm
the
messing
fact
with
is, yeah, WWE right now have a major issue, and that issue is they have, for the first time in like a long, long time, I mean, since the Attitude Era, but realistically, it's even worse now than then, where their roster is such an aging roster, and they need people in their early 30s, late 20s to be getting called up. And right now, there's just a couple of them, and that's not really an option. I mean, Donnie, I agree with you. He's very average in ring, Ethan Page, but a good character. Fernando disagrees. He says that he loves Ethan Page and he's going to be a huge main event star someday. I disagree with you on that one, Fernando. But Donnie,
I do think he's a very strong mid card guy, though. I'm not going to say that. Like Ethan Page will always be employed